But now it's the time to transition into what everyone here, everyone in the chat's been harping on. Keep typing in patch. Rex, I know you have your handy dandy notebook right there. We have a couple questions that were queued up from the community. I want to start first with @soccerdude_9. This is really, I think, what most people are paying attention to.
You say soccer dude?
Yeah, he's at @soccerdude_9.
We're not answering a question from soccer dude.
@footballdude_9.
There you go. Let's go.
At football, yeah. He said, what blitzes are getting patched tomorrow, aka today?
All right. So let's get
He's got the list.
Gentlemen.
Here it is.
This is probably the moment most of you have been waiting for. So let's give a little bit of overview, and then we'll talk about which defenses got the patch fix. So let's first talk high level about the why. So it's a little bit different for us now that we're kind of leaning into esports, and with the tournaments taking off and it's very visible. We had 15,000 watching the Twitch stream of the finals. And so producing a game that kind of looks like football and holds up is really important to us. And the problem with a lot of the A and B gap blitzes is that it actually breaks our offensive line logic, meaning like we have an offensive lineman standing out there in space playing patty cake while somebody's coming in the A gap. That's a bug. That's not acceptable from our perspective. So basically what this does is we changed the way the right guard initial move worked. The initial move is sort of the first steps he takes after the snap so that he better protects the B gap. What that means is that a lot of the heat will still get in off the edge, but they will always protect inside to outside first. So before we get into it, I just want to thank RG over here, Will Sykes upstairs, Brett Skipoff, our engineer on blocking, Wes Reinhardt, our engineering lead, and of course Clint Oldenburg, our blocking product owner. They were kind of moving on to the next thing and working on that, and I kind of took them and said, look guys, we got to fix this. I want the tournament play to not devolve into what we call a scrape fest, right? So with all that out of the way, let's get to it. The defenses that we believe are fixed in this patch: 4-3 over, strong slant 3. 4-6 bear under, linebacker dogs. 3-4 predator, strong safety scrape 3.
Bye-bye.
Nickel 2-4-5, double A gap. Nickel 3 overload. 3-4 even, Mike scrape 3. 4-3 under, cover 2.
Pretty good blitz.
3-4 under, strong safety scrape 3. Big nickel, strong zone blitz show 6. Nickel normal cover 2. And for my boy, I'm Stevie J, the dime flat.
Oh,
If your name was
dang.
not called, please proceed to the gym exit.
Thank you,
If
Hook
your
God.
name was not called, you're still good. Now, guys, there's still screamers out there. We know this. We had some of the community guys here last week. They tested some of their setups, and the ones that come with outside heat still kind of worked. So they're not gone out of the game. The second thing is I know people will get back in the lab and you will find new ones. This patch is not an elimination of the entire setup system. So those of you who are willing to put the lab time in, you will find new ones. I also wanted to take an opportunity today to thank the people who helped us track these down. Some of them willingly and voluntarily, some of them not so much. But when you post your screamers on YouTube and Twitter, we see it, and then we go and we try to fix it. So specifically, I want to call out Madden Daily, Madden Turf, the Good Game Movement, Bang a GGM, Problem Right and his crew, and MaddenXO.com. We went out and bought their ebooks, and it helped us. So I just asked the community, if you're into the ebook thing, I'm sure a lot of these guys are going to have new ebooks out post-patch. Please continue to support your community. I think the ebook thing is a good thing. It helps people get better at the game, helps some people in the community make a little bit of money on the side. So I'm not against it. So you guys who are prone to do that kind of thing, have fun in the lab for the next few days, and good luck with your new ebooks. So that's it on the nanos. Unless you have more questions, we can move on to other stuff in the patch.
I guess the question is, people saying, when is the patch? Like, the patch is out.
It's out.
Now,
Correct?
10:30 this morning.
So people
Eastern.
how do they go get it?
Just go sign on. PS4 is a little tricky. I always just kind of hover over the Madden 16, click the options button, then go down to check for update. Boom. That's
Okay.
it.
So a couple other questions that have gone through the chat as you were talking, Rex. Has anything else been addressed, whether it's in the patch or is it specifically we're just targeting these blitzes and then kind of going from there?
Yeah, well, let's start off with the biggest one, and it had to do with a game freeze, a pause menu lockup, and I'll let Jake Stein talk about how we found that out and how we tracked it down.
Yep. So shout out to AJ for letting me come on here, kind of talk openly about this. I think this is a really cool avenue where we can talk to more like hardcore engaged users. So that this is really cool. Shout out to him for letting us do that. So right before our San Francisco week of the tournament, we had another Friday live stream, and it was my responsibility as a producer on that to have a build ready for those competitors to play. And we added in a couple things to that build. Nothing from a gameplay standpoint, but we added, very simple things. We added like the Madden Challenge logo on the field, right? Just nice little touch there. And then we made all the games be played in the championship DC Stadium. So anytime we make a change to the build, we throw it over to QA and make sure that, even if it's the smallest change, we want to make sure that we didn't break anything. So it's over in QA. I'm kind of going about my day, checking email, and then all of a sudden I get an email from QA. It's like, hey, this testing's going really good, but we're hitting this thing where I can't call a play. I'm like, stop what you're doing. I'm coming to find you right now. We're going to talk about this.
Real quick.
Yep.
I know someone's asked the question, what the heck is QA? Real quick.
Quality assurance. I mean, these are the guys that we are, anytime somebody makes a change in our game, we are giving it over to them. They are the ones that, no matter how many engineers sign off on something and think that something is, good from a code standpoint, we need QA to go in there and actually bang on that build, make sure that nothing's broken, and that what you think you are addressing got addressed.
And those dudes grind.
In simple terms, they're game testers.
Yeah, they're grinders, man. They make the game what it is as long as everyone else here, but continue.
Yep. So we go over there, and we've heard about this in the community for so long, and this has always been a really tricky bug to chase down, right? Because it's something where, and for those that you don't know, it's where you can't call a play. You get the play call, and you're hitting your button. You lose all input, and the only thing you can do is pause. And once you pause, you have to dashboard to quit out. Like the game's just locks up on you, and it's really tricky for us because the game doesn't crash. Like if anytime there's a crash or something along that lines from a stability standpoint, like we get data on that. We see how many times that's happening, and we can sort of assess what to do from there, right? With this one, the game just sort of hung. There was no way for us to know exactly how many people were hitting this, but we saw so much conversation on social media that, hey, look, this is a thing, this is what's happening, this has to stop, right? And so it's probably been a 4-5 month process where we just constantly are always spending resources. Anytime we have a little extra bandwidth, let's go try and reproduce this. And again, going back to that esports build, we finally were able to reproduce it to sort of make a long story a little shorter. It's once they were able to reproduce it, we have our engineers take a look at it. We went and put in a fix. That esports build went from about a 30%, like every 5 of the 15 games that they played on, they hit it. Ever since we put the fix in, they didn't hit it anymore. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those things where we felt good enough, and Rex and everybody, shout out to these guys. I can't sit here and say that there's not going to be any more freezing or loss of input, right? We can't say that in good confidence, but what we can say is we fixed something that looked an awful lot like it on our side, right? And so now we're getting it out there. Let us know if you're still hitting it. We have more work to do, but what we're hoping is that now that the new Draft Champions season has rolled over, you're getting in there, you're playing some more competitive games. That should be a much better experience than it was in Season 1.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to share there is really, this was probably like Thanksgiving time, and there were multiple instances where Jake would come down here because he'd ask myself, Goo, AJ, and ask just what is the community saying, because they're literally working, trying to figure out what the problem was. This was, again, around Thanksgiving. It was like a Thursday, like 6 p.m. at night, and most people, 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. No. Like, they really were, like, those waking hours where they had extra time in their day, it was focused on how do we solve this problem. And part of it was just being able to get that example of, like, what actually was happening. And then you're able to find it and resulted in you think is the fix.
We saw all kinds of videos. I mean, at one point we thought maybe that it was shoe clock related because we saw, like, 3 videos in a row that were doing that. And then we sort of were able to rule that out. It really was deflating, right? Like, launching Draft Champions Ranked was such an awesome moment for us on the continuous development team. But then I go home and I see Farl's first game that he plays ends with this bug.
Right.
You know, and so it's, you know, you just wasted 40 minutes of your time, and that's not acceptable. So, again, fingers crossed. We're hoping that that it's fixed.
Yep.
Let us know.
Yeah, that's all you guys can do is if you run into any of those issues, you know, you can always message myself, you can message guys like RG, even Rex is on Twitter, Jake's on Twitter, Farls, Goo, everyone involved. So you can message us, let us know.
Ready for the next round?
Yeah, ready for the next round.
So, the next set of fixes I'll let RG talk about since he was kind of instrumental in figuring these out. We actually didn't know about one of these until RG went to a tournament in Atlantic City and saw it happening live and actually affected the outcome of that tournament. These issues have to do with the way the game handles clock management and penalties at the end of the half and at the end of the game. This is also the source of the block field goal glitch that some of you might be familiar with, where a guy comes across, stands in front of your field goal, blocks it, and then the defensive penalty, the half ends. So to talk about the solution for the field goal block glitch and clock management and the clock stopping on a sack, RG.
Yeah, so that's the first one is that end of not getting an untimed down when you should is pretty ridiculous. What people were doing is sitting there, and if you're kicking the game-winning field goal with no time left, they would just sit off sides, block your kick, you'd accept the penalty, and the game would end, which is terrible. Any of you that did that, I hope you drop all your interceptions from now until forever.
Till eternity.
You get no block sheds, you force no fumbles, because that's what you deserve for being scum.
God's
On our end,
Madden gods curse you.
yeah, may the Madden gods curse you. On our end, though, we can't let stuff like that happen. So it was actually an issue that we fixed in one patch, and it ended up breaking again later on, which shows you how scary touching the game this late in the cycle can be. But yeah, our engineers cracked down, and we got that fixed. So you should now get an untimed down. You know, when you try some scummery like that I'm not a fan of.
Scummery.
Yeah, and
scummery.
to build on the whole scummery thing, if you're one of those people who's doing the false start glitch where you do fake snap to just repeat penalties over and over and over to get your opponent to quit, we will find you and we will console ban you. If people are doing that to you, send us the video. We will go after them. I am not a fan of that behavior, and we will end it quickly.
Get him, Rex.
I got one more. Go ahead, RG.
Well, the last one was there was a bug, the one I saw in Atlantic City, and it was your quarterback would sometimes get sacked and the clock would randomly stop. This wasn't an easy one to figure out because it happened insanely randomly. We ended up figuring out what happened to it. One thing that really helped me figure it out was the community sending me videos of the issue. Guys like Farls, a couple other guys, shot me over videos, and that's always a huge help. I really appreciate when people go out of their way to really try to give like repro steps or an example of an issue rather than just saying like, your game sucks, it's broken, fix it. I mean, I feel your pain, but that doesn't really help the problem. So the people that did send me videos and were being very transparent with what they were seeing with that quarterback sack bug, huge help. And we figured out it was if the quarterback had kind of gotten sacked as he was trying to throw the ball away was what was causing it. And we got that in the hands of one of our engineers, and that's fixed. So it's pretty cool bug to get fixed. I'm happy we were able to track that one down. And shout out to the community for the help.
Bang.
Okay, next one. So this is an issue that some people have been tweeting to me, but I personally didn't have any experience with because I don't usually play the game on all Madden difficulty. But as I got into MUT this year, when people complain about overthrows and stuff, I just consider that part of our base pass accuracy system. But when I started, my team got good enough this year that I actually had to play through the all Madden solos in MUT. I realized that something else was going on. Like, I have 93 Dante Culpepper, and every third throw is sailing to the safety. And I if you've seen me play, I run slants and drags pretty much exclusively. That's my passing offense.
Slant cheeser.
Yeah. So getting that overthrow is pretty much a pick every time to me. So it was getting very frustrating. And I went in and asked the engineers, and like, hey, what's going on with pass accuracy on all Madden? And we looked under the hood, we realized there was actually an additional penalty that was being applied. Now, my philosophy as a game designer when it comes to skill levels is that you should make the AI better, but you should never make the user worse. And that's what this piece of code was doing. It was fundamentally making you have more inaccurate throws as a user-controlled quarterback on all Madden. That's not the direction I want to go with all Madden, so I had them take it out. So now there's no accuracy penalty just because you're playing on all Madden.
It feels more like all pro.
Yes. So a lot less overthrows on all Madden.
Skimbo says thank you.
You're
Personally
welcome,
to you.
Skimbo.
Personally to you.
Shout out to Skimbo,
Skimbo
Madden
in the
Challenge
house.
runner-up in the
Yeah,
house.
there you go.
Yeah, and then finally, I want to touch on a couple things. There were some rumors about us nerfing C routes. That is false. It did not happen. We didn't touch it.
Did not happen.
There are some of you who want man to be toned down, or they want zones to work better, or deep blues to be recoded. None of that got touched, and I want to explain a little bit about why. The way Madden works, whenever you mess with coverage or try to tune or change something, when it comes to like either zone or man or break times or reaction times, it invariably has splash damage across a wide variety of systems and routes. You can't like encapsulate it. I'd say the equivalent for me is kind of like doing brain surgery. Like if you touch the wrong nerve, it sends ripple waves. All of a sudden your patient has a stroke. They're disabled. They're drooling out the right side of their mouth, which is why we take coverage changes very seriously. We need a lot of time to make them and then make sure we didn't break things on the back end. And that involves a lot of testing against a lot of routes and a lot of different player rating combinations. So for those of you who are disappointed that zone or man didn't get tuned in this patch, apologies, but that's the reason why. I'm hoping that you'll find that the defensive fixes are enough of a change to affect competitive play that you won't necessarily need the coverage changes as well.
That's legit. That's I mean, that's a lot of stuff, guys, going into one patch. And what's the actual date today, Rex? What? Oh, in February? Oh, it's February. It's February, and there's a patch out. That's interesting. What's up with you guys doing all these patches?
That's the big guy, man. Being a man of the people, dude. We've
Man of
never
the
had
people.
that in the past. I mean, it's great having a guy like Rex when you come in. I don't know if other games have a creative director that literally will come in and, you know, it stinks and it sounds like I'm kissing butt right now, but it's the truth. You literally have a guy that comes in and at the stand-ups will tell, like, all the engineering teams and our development directors and stuff, like, this is what the community's complaining about. Like, we can't just sit back and do nothing about it. And it's really refreshing to have a guy that's, you know, in his position, have that kind of attitude and really have, you know, the people in mind first. And that's what he really does. And, you know, you got to credit him for it.
Everyone in the chat, all 782 of you, let's get a type 1 in the chat if you'd like to virtually thank Rex and team and company QA. Jake, everyone involved. Let's get a virtual thank you to Rex and the team for a patch this late in the year. It helps make the game more enjoyable.
We got to throw it back to... This is going to sound like I'm kissing ass now, but Andrew Wilson, our CEO, who's definitely not watching this.
Maybe he is.
When he took office, and I've been with EA for some 16-something years now, and when Andrew Wilson took office, his strategy, his platform was players first. And as developers and employees of EA, each of us has to do a little soul searching and figure out what that means to us. So to me, it meant sort of... putting down those guards, going out in the community, knowing I was going to get some venom and some pushback and a lot of nasty behavior, but knowing that at the back end it'll be worth it to just hear your guys' voice. And that has changed a lot of things about the culture of this team, about the way we do business, about our commitment to our core consumers, and starting to see ourselves more as a year-long service that keeps putting out content throughout the year versus here's $60 product in August, see you next August, we're out. So that's all part of it, but a lot of this wouldn't have been possible without the community also embracing us. Guys like You Need Seattle Bum, Problem, welcoming developers into their chat stream, protecting us from people who are negative towards us or nasty, people engaging with us on Twitter, giving us feedback. It's a symbiotic relationship between the dev team and the community, and it wouldn't work only one way.
There it is. You hear it from Rex himself. Guys, we really appreciate all the time you guys put into caring about this game, the questions you put in, because that helps us obviously make the game better. The guys who actually do make the game better are the guys in front of you here. So round of applause for them. But now, guys, we got a couple other questions here, Rex, from the community.
Sure.
So one is coming from Black Phoenix, and he says, are there any offensive line AI improvements? And if so, can you explain how they have improved?
Yeah, I think the main one there is the fundamental fix for the nanos. Or, sorry, not nanos, screamers, heaters, whatever you guys want to call them.
Nanos don't exist.
Nanos don't exist. The main thing is that the right guard, his initial move to protect the B gap has been changed so that he will do a much better job of protecting inside to outside in terms of his priorities.
It's both guards, too. Like, you can flip the defense, and
Awesome.
They'll react good.
Good.
It's
I think that's exactly what he's looking for. Black Phoenix is a high-level player as well, so this isn't just like him complaining. Like, he goes out, finds ways to fix things, tinker, like play action to block things. So that's a high-level question, high-level answer for him as well. Question coming in from the Steve3811. He says, what does awareness rating do for user-controlled quarterbacks in Madden 16? Help settle a debate.
I knew it was coming. You know what we should do on the Muttcast? We should reveal like what each rating does each week. We'll just dug deep into a specific rating.
Hour long on Pursuit.
You would need like awareness would need like its own like 2 episode special because it just touches so many.
A lot of things. So awareness is one of those things that touches a lot of different aspects. But specific to quarterbacks in the pocket, it doesn't do anything for user-controlled quarterbacks. It is specifically tied to AI outcomes and decision making.
There it is. Listen, someone's going to have to go back, find that, record that, and share it with everybody to explain that because we just touched upon it. So that's good to know. Our last question comes from Kyle S. I have no idea how to say his Twitter handle, but he says, will we be getting custom personnel packages, i.e. power run packages, anytime soon? So it sounds like he wants more right stick packages for his offense and defense.
Define soon. I think
3-year plan.
That goes back to, so like let's see, there's actually like 4 features in that question right there. One of them would be the being able to set your personnel by formation, which would also be tied to custom playbooks. Because if I'm setting by formation, then I'm building a custom playbooks, which is something we have, but we obviously need to do a lot more work to make it usable and functional for everybody. In terms of like a power run package, I think another thing we're missing is really player signatures and having the concept of a power back versus a non-power back and all the pieces that go with it. Like, a true blocking fullback, for example, if I want to run primarily out of I-form or something like that. So there's actually a lot of different pieces that would need to come together to answer your question in full. But yes, all that stuff is being discussed and planned for the short term.
Question on, you mentioned quarterback awareness. I've seen Clint tweet that before. But what about QB traits? Is that for another Muttcast? Because there's something that goes into all of that.
Yes, QB traits are relevant, even if you're user controlled.
So if everyone's chirping 94 Mariota hard right now.
Hard.
Because he has low awareness, but now we've said that doesn't matter. If you're user controlling him, there's still traits to factor in. So you still gotta test the items.
Well, you guys have played with them. What do you think? What stands out
the difficult
about
part
Mariota?
thing with the Vic, usually its comparison right now is Vic to Mariota. The Vic, as RG said many times before, he's a lefty. You really have to get comfortable using the lefty quarterback, and you have to change your scheme. So if you're running a gun bunch, you really should be running it flip to take advantage of his left. And also, like, the way people tend to send blitzes, it's going to change the way, like, you're going to have to roll out backwards. It just kind of changes everything you play. So that's where I think a lot of people like the Mariota instead, is because he's a righty. It's what they're accustomed to. Vic is you have to be able to harness Vic. Like, it's a power that not just everyone can use.
Yeah. I think, with Mutt, and this might sound like a cop-out, but regardless of what the ratings tell you or what they say, ultimately when a player feels right to you, right? And it's not the same for everybody. It's how they fit into your scheme. So my advice to people who are still playing Mutt is and building their teams is don't focus so much on players' ratings. Watch streams and watch people play with certain players. Read up what people are saying about certain players, but test drive them yourself. Try them out and see if they work for you. That would be my advice.
Yeah, isn't there some quarterback that you love? You still use Dante?
Still use Dante. I haven't changed it. I've had him for like 4 months.
Creative director guy can't even get a better quarterback than Dante. Goo?
He's getting the job done for me.
Goo? Can you help him out?
You will never put a Tom Brady quarterback on my team or any other Patriots player for that matter.
That's why he's messing up.
This Jets fan ain't having it.
What? Well, guys, appreciate you guys coming on, talking patch, talking notes, talking February, and it's still improving Madden NFL 16. So that's a big shout out to you guys, all the work you do. When you go back upstairs, tell everyone thanks again from the community as well. Really do that.
Shout out to 700 in the chat showing up for the Muttcast.
We had 800. This is a record.
Nice.
For the Muttcast. 11 a.m.
Record attendance for the Muttcast. Shout out, community.
We brought your ugly mugs on, guys. That's good.
Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. And if you want to interact with me live, head on over to Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and Azure Effect. The call-in number for the show is down in the description. Now, of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. And before you go, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. All right, guys. Until next time, lights out.